روبرت سبيد. Welcome to أولاً اقتصاد والأعمال. You are the CEO of Innovera Middle East, and you have recently handled this task. So I'd like to congratulate you for handling this new position. Innovera Middle East for Education and Technology offers a wide range of products and solutions that serves the education sector in the Middle East and Africa. And as you know, the coronavirus pandemic has really affected the scene and accelerated e-learning. So how do you think the pandemic affect Innovera positively, and how?
Yeah, thank you, Rania. It's a pleasure to be able to talk to you today, and appreciate your kind words. Rania, this is a very good question, and what I would say is that Innovera has been very fortunate as a company within, the education sector, the edtech sector, because we have some very valued partners, customers, and the brands that we're working with in the education sector. So the last 10 months, we've been extremely busy, shall I say, supporting a lot of the changes that institutions and schools have faced by going online with COVID, for example, and addressing the growing needs and demands from the market that we're working in. But also one of our priorities is working to support teachers and the education community, because adapting and adopting to go online has meant a really significant increase in calls coming through to our service center for help. But also teachers and students directly working with our platforms. And, this kind of trust that we have with our partners is critical right now. I would say that's one of the key things to ensure this, change to teaching and learning has been positive. And there's a lot of data analytics we're using, which are pretty remarkable, to be honest. But it's showing us that, the institutions are coping with the change that they faced, in turn, helping us to serve them better.
What does Innovera do to support universities and governments in the Arab region to ensure they are well positioned to transition to online and blended learning effectively?
So Rania, we're working to support each institution by really understanding the value of what we can bring as Innovera on, key initiatives with technology, with teaching and learning. Because each institution is very specific, and they have different roadmaps with regards to the vision that they want to achieve within their faculty, or what they're trying to achieve within the industry. So normally we're involved in advising and implementing our partnership. So we have a specific set of brands that we represent, and we're trying to provide some professional development and support. And that enables the institutions then and their teachers to be more comfortable with, the theory and the practical sides of teaching and learning, so that they can implement that. So I would say on a government level, Rania, we're very, very deeply engaged. And I would say a good example here on a transformation project during COVID was to establish really a super country transformation project. And this was working with one of our partners with the Ministry of Education in Egypt. And the platform was a product called Edmodo. And this platform has been established now for 22 million students in Egypt and 1.5 million teachers. So you can see the scale of such technology that can be used during a time when teaching and learning is online. And this is a great example to show how we're supporting in the market. So I'm very happy to share that with you.
I'm happy to hear that also Egypt has did great on this issue. So how do you evaluate the demand on Innovera's services after the pandemic, and what did it do to cope with the new situation and meet this increasing demand?
Yeah, I was talking to our leadership team actually, Rania, about this recently, and I was trying to understand what we could do better, because the demand has been significant on all our departments. And it's been a very interesting time, especially in customer support. And, our service center has taken hundreds of thousands of calls, for example, which was an area that we didn't expect during this time, but it really has been significant. So customer support is one of our key priorities. Customer health is another key priority for us, but also understanding the contact points with teachers and students and how better to serve them, because this is an important area. Yes, there is technology. Yes, there are new initiatives from institutions and they want to invest heavily, but still we have to evaluate and come back to how we can do a better job with teaching and learning to deliver a better service, to be honest with you.
Yes, can you give us expectations on how much governments need to invest in order to put in place the required infrastructure for e-learning?
Yeah, of course. I can, talk from experience here, Rania, because I've visited many countries over the years within Ministry of Education level, but also international schools and university levels. I would say from a government perspective, it's key to understand what we're trying to achieve, and going hand in hand with a government ministry is understanding from a faculty level how teachers will be trained to use technology and software and how students will be engaged within the classroom. This is one of the key areas, because once we start addressing how teaching and learning works within the curriculum that's delivered on the ground, front of class, then it kind of helps develop the strategy around what is the proper platforms to be used to support that activity. So, investments from governments really need to be tailored in a specific way. And there are so many factors as well, because, there's an increased demand on students at home now. So laptops, desktops, mobile devices have seen an impressive increase on, teachers and learners at home using mobile devices. So it's a very careful conversation, and it can be measured for return of investment and also the key performance metrics as well. So it's very interesting.
How much did Innovera witness growth after the pandemic on its services?
Yeah, of course. So I think the growth has really come from existing customers who we're working with today, who are calling us for help. That's a good thing, obviously. From our side, we're choosing brands who can actually scale, and they have the elasticity, Rania, because the demand has increased tremendously over the last 10 months, as I said earlier. You need to have a robust infrastructure to start with. You need products that can scale so that you can meet with the ever-increasing demands, but still they support teaching and learning in a classroom environment.
Can you give us percentage points, the growth in percentage points?
I think I would say for Innovera, the growth has been over 110%. For our customers, Rania, they've had increases of thousands of percents because the software has been used in such an impressive way. So, just to give you a flavor of those metrics.
Yes. Okay. You talked about Egypt, but how do you evaluate the readiness of schools and universities in the region for the adoption of e-learning?
E-learning has always been available, and people mustn't forget this. There are many companies that have been around for even 20 years who have been developing software for e-learning. So what we've seen really is the tools being adopted for longer use during the academic day, Rania. So traditionally, it was 45 minutes of a lesson pre-COVID, but now during COVID, you can have students online for 5-6 hours a day. So it's been a significant increase.
Great. To what extent it is important, do you think, to provide tailor-made services that meet the needs of each institution? And what are the adjustments required for the curricula to shift into digital learning?
Yeah, again, I spoke to my leadership team about this because there's so much choice in the market today. The EdTech space has many, many solutions and services, and there's a lot of content available as well for schools and institutions to use who are already online. But bringing it all together from a teaching and learning perspective is probably the most critical point. So when you're creating a tailor-made service, you have to look at these components. How does the teacher better manage their time and the academic day, and then walk through all of those key elements? Okay, so it's about support, it's about assistance, and it's about having the right training. Investment is key, but it needs to be balanced with the technology, and always keeping teaching and learning at the forefront.
Okay, e-learning has been adopted for 1 year so far. So how do you assess its efficiency and effectiveness compared to the traditional learning?
Yeah, I would say that if you're trying to assess its efficiency, I would take you back again. E-learning has been around for a long time. It's how the faculty and institutions use it during their academic day. So, the adoption has increased, tremendously. But teacher training, student success, student engagement, these are the key components really that all feed back into an overall strategy that can be assessed. So if you're measuring, over a 1 year period, there's a lot of data that can be evaluated to the traditional styles of teaching. But of course, they're all very subjective, I would say, and a clear assessment is required that covers all of the systems and how they're used together.
Okay. Are you looking for Innovera? And are you looking for new partnerships in the region to boost growth and support clients?
Yes, we're very fortunate, Rania. So Innovera is working with some of the best international brands today in the EdTech market space. So I'm very pleased to have that support and most importantly, their trust. And I would say that strategic partnerships are always welcomed, and I'm actively speaking to various companies in the Middle East and Africa region right now because it's a very exciting time.
Okay, I know there are a lot of challenges facing the adoption of e-learning in the region, but how can you brief it?
I think briefly, the main challenges are how to adopt teaching and learning strategy and the technology, but also how to bring the stakeholders together, because you have IT, you have faculty, you have people pulling and pushing in different directions. It's all a voice to be heard, but I would say that adoption is probably a key measurement and a challenge.
Okay, and finally, what is your big vision for the future of e-learning?
Well, I'm a very small part, Rania, of the strategic vision of e-learning and the industry, but I tend to guide and steer my team to stick to the basics. So it's always my kind of approach, which is the EdTech space is changing each year. There are many wonderful products, there are many wonderful people, and developing great leadership and thinking around these changes in teaching and learning and enhancing the products is something that we see all the time. So the trick really is to stay awake, be aware, be agile, and to adapt and adopt how the market is moving. And I think this is probably part of a bigger picture, but e-learning is here to stay.
Great. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity, Mr. Robert Sbeid, CEO of Innovera Middle East. You are welcome at أولا اقتصاد العمل. Thank you.
It's very kind. Thank you so much for your time.